Hi, so I'm going to be talking to you about how to do your brows. Now, one of my favorite brow kits to use is the Younique Moodstruck Obsession Brow Palette. As you can see, mine is all worn out because I use this literally all the time. So, the first thing that I do is I take my dual brush. It has a spoolie on one side and an angle brush on the other. And I like to use the lighter of the two dark colors first. So I'm going to go ahead and just brush out my brows. And I brush them upwards so that way whenever I go to do my brows, I can make sure that I'm getting the correct height, because you don't want to not brush out your brows and then you do your brows, and if they move, your hairs are above the line that you drew. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going underneath my natural brow line. So usually people will get their eyebrows waxed, but if they're still a little bit thin and you just want them to look more full, then you can do this. Now on the top, I like to follow the top guide of my natural hairs, but I start literally where my hair starts. At the bottom, I start more towards the inner part of my nose, and I'll show you why I do that in a second. So now I'm just going back in that shadow and I'm just filling in these hairs just a little bit more. If you're like me and you have sparse hairs, this is going to be something that you want to do. If you're in between getting your brows done, this is also a perfect time to get your tweezers and pluck out any hairs that's not within the line. Now I'm going to go over to this side and I'm going to come back to the front of my brow. I just want to get these kind of even. So again, I'm starting before my brow towards the inner part of my nose, and I want to make sure that this line matches where this line starts. I'm following it underneath my brow hairs, taking it and just turning my hand slightly so that it curves and makes that little arch. You're going to run out of product halfway through. All you do is just add a little bit more. What I like about using a brow palette like this is I feel like a powder substance gives you a more natural look. I always get complimented on how natural my brows look, and I feel like brow powders gives you more of that look versus any other product. When I get to the end or the corner over here, I just slightly turn my hand and I meet this line that I started at the bottom. I'm going to go back into my product and I'm just going to fill that in. The first couple of times that you do this, well, not the first couple of times, the first like 20 times that you do this, it's going to take you a while. You have to kind of figure out what shape you like, what kind of arch you want. I mean, it's going to take you a while to get it to where you want it to be and get your hands, flowing the way that, is comfortable for you. So when I get to this part, I like to kind of just take it and just lightly brush up. I don't want to apply too much product at the front of my brow. So I'm doing like kind of like what a hair stroke would look like. You see that? And it gives you that more natural look. Now, if you want it to be more faded out, you can take your spoolie and go through there. But you have to be careful because when you go through with the spoolie, it's really going to take some of that product away, and it really will make it light. But this does give you that faded look. Now you're just going to perfect it. So this is where you're going to get like another angled brush that's clean. So you don't want to use the same one as before. You're going to get another angled brush that is clean. And you are going to take a little bit of concealer. This is like my favorite concealer in the whole wide world. Like there's no point in anything else. I like to put it on the back of my hand just because it warms up the product. It makes it easier to move and go on your face. And you're just going to go right underneath your brow. And this is what they call cleaning up the brows. This is what helps it get that really precise line. You always wonder how they make it look like it's just chiseled and perfect. This concealer portion, if you messed up on your brows, this is going to correct that. So as you first get started and you're learning how to do your brows, it's okay if you mess up because the concealer is going to perfect that for you. So don't have to worry about taking it all the way down yet. We're going to leave that there until we get our other brush and blend it out. So this is not really your blending out brush. This is just cleaning up your brow brush. Again, like I said, it may take you a little bit longer. When you first do this, you may make mistakes as you go. You see, I got the concealer up there. That's perfectly fine. You just go in with your brow shadow. Go right over top of that. Clean it right up. No biggie. That's what's great about this, is that you really cannot, like, I mean, you can mess up, but it's not that big of a deal. You can easily fix it. So not putting any more product, you're just bringing this down just a little bit, just to kind of spread that product up so it's not so much product right underneath the brow. So that's all I'm doing with this brush. I didn't add any more concealer. I'm just pulling down some of that concealer so it doesn't have like a whole bunch of concealer sitting right on the top. Now, this part is optional. If you don't have the money to get multiple different color concealers and you can only afford one, you can totally use the same concealer on the top of your brows. Is it going to give you a different look? Absolutely. It may have like a little bit of a light tint above your brows. If you don't like that, you might want to go with something that's going to be darker. So me, I'm going to go ahead and use the same color, but you can also do this with your foundation as well, just to make it easier to blend in. And you're going to do the exact same thing that you did on the bottom. All you're doing is just tracing it and making sure that that line, that brown line, didn't go too far up, and this is just going to help it to make it look more neat. When you get done, you're going to take all this and try to blend it out as best as you can. So you're going to go on the other side, and you're going to do the same thing. And absolutely take your time. I mean, even people who have been doing this for years, they don't rush the brows. You don't rush the brows, okay? So take the time. There are some people that can just slap their brows on and then just clean it up and it turns out perfect. You can eventually get to that point, but in the meantime, I suggest taking your time. Now I like to get something just a little bit fluffier that makes it a little bit easier to blend out the concealer. And it's totally okay to bring this concealer down on your eyelid, because if you're putting on eyeshadow, then you're going to want this concealer anyway as a base for your eyeshadow. And even if you're not wearing eyeshadow, you can use this as like an eyeshadow. It's like a nude eyeshadow. Throw on some mascara, maybe some liner, and keep it moving and have like a natural look. So you just want to be careful not to get this brush into the actual brow. It's okay if you go over the bridge of your nose. Your foundation will cover that up anyway. And it's okay if you get it out here. Again, your foundation is going to cover that up. You're going to go back on this side, and you're just going to do the same thing, pulling it down onto your lid. If you need more concealer when you do your actual eyeshadow, you can absolutely apply more on the direct lid, but you don't need any more underneath your brow. This is plenty. Now, you have to kind of decide like what color concealer you want to use under your brow. I usually go about 2 shades lighter, just so that when I put my brow highlight, meaning like a pretty sparkly like shadow underneath my brow bone, like in this area, it shows up more. It shows up more when you have like a lighter base. And you see how that's blended out. So then when I go to put my foundation on, it's gonna be perfect. So also in here, it has the brow wax that you go ahead and place over top of your brows. So let me just make sure that my brush is cleaned. I have a little bit of concealer on here. You're just gonna put that brush straight into that brow wax, and what this does is it just sets the brows just a little bit more. I like to put it towards the back because it does have like a little sheen to it, and this just keeps your brow hairs down and it keeps everything set and lasting longer. If you want that really nice fade, I really do suggest keeping this brow wax towards the back so that way it doesn't darken up the front. You want to keep that nice fade. Okay, so you're done with that part. Now for a underbrow bone highlight, you can get a little fan brush like this. And if you're a fair skin beauty, you can use this pink. If you're a little bit darker tone, this gold works great, but the gold really works great for any skin tone. So I just dab a little bit of this here. And you just want to be careful whenever you're by your brows. This gives you the perfect little shimmer and natural look. And you just pull that down so you can kind of see that shimmer right there. When I go to put my eyeshadow on, it's going to all come together. So that is how I do my brows. I use the brow palette, a fan brush, the Younique Brow Artist brush, which has dual end, an angled side and a straight side. And I used a spoolie and angled brush to do my brows, and a fluffy brush. And that is all the tools that I use. I'll hold it all up together so you can see it one last time. And that's how I do my brows.